You want to talk about food? I want to talk about food. Let's talk about food.
I just love
What
that,
else are we gonna
that
do?
intro. I made it
We
on
got
GarageBand.
nothing else to do.
It's
Let's
so
go.
it pleases me. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Nikki Talks Food. I am Nikki Pettineo. This is my podcast, and we have a big show today. So today I have my first guest. His name is Chef Josh Turek. And we're also going to go over some food news, and we're going to play a game. It's like Power Pack today, so you're not going to want to miss it. So we usually kind of start the show with something I've had it with, and this topic today is I've had it with chefs using tweezers for the dumbest things. Okay, and I'm talking about like chefs hunched over a fryer using tweezers to turn stuff in a fryer. Like, I'm like, dude, it's not that serious. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, it does look cool, but I feel like sometimes it's just to look cool. So the tweezers, if you're putting little delicate flowers on a cake, which is relevant to my guest. He's a pastry chef. We're going to ask him how he feels about tweezers. But me personally, I don't want to see another chef bent over a fryer using tweezers to turn small onion rings. Okay, so I'm over that. What I'm here for, what I love, I found this guy on Instagram and I can't stop watching his content. His name is, it's Coconut Cup _NYC1, which is like a very long name. But this guy's name is Chef Odian. He's self-taught. I guess he's from New York City. And I'm here for the creative catering content. This guy is literally manufacturing new catering stuff out of the craziest pieces of decor that you will ever see in your life. And it is something inspiring, and I just am here for this guy. So follow him if you love food and you want to like look at some really cool stuff. His food looks really delicious. His displays are unbelievable. So go check him out. So okay, so we're gonna have Chef Josh today. So Chef Josh, if you'll come on out.
Hi.
Look at that. There are people clapping for you, bud. Huh?
Thunderous applause.
Oh, too much. Twice as nice. Okay.
Twice as nice.
Josh, thank you for coming and being my first guest on the pod. Full disclosure, Josh and I have known each other for more than a decade, and we are best friends. So this should be a bit of a kiki. This should be quite a hoot. We are excited. I am excited. He is he's an amazing person. He is one of the most talented chefs that I've ever worked with. He can also pipe happy birthday in chocolate on a plate if you just ripped out his fingernails and fed them to him right before service. They would still say happy birthday clear and beautifully. It's unbelievable.
I can feel that description.
He's a certified executive pastry chef. He has a bachelor's degree in food and beverage management and pastry arts. Welcome to the pod, Josh.
Hi, so thank you so much for having me. It's always exciting to spend time with you, dear Bestie, who is amazing with all the foods. But what an intro! Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
you make it sound way more fabulous than it is.
You are fabulous. Okay, I'm out of focus for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, here we go.
Especially you bring up that bachelor's, it's like, ooh,
I know.
Like, that's a story in itself for us.
It is. Well,
that was a time.
You and I did both certification. We did our executive chef certification through the ACF, and we did our bachelor's together. So we were like leaning on each other like this and weeping a lot. Like,
yeah,
it's the Tower of Nikki and Josh.
And this was like over a time frame. This was like same time, like in the same year, doing this while working full time.
Well, yeah, while working full time and trying to stay sane, we definitely leaned on each other for support, and there was nobody I would want to rather do that with. So I appreciate you being there.
It would have been rough, very rough, if impossible, without you.
Yeah. So we're just gushing over each other.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
You.
Well, today is our topic today is mental health, and we're just gonna dip our tiny little toe in a discussion on mental health in the culinary, baking and pastry, restaurant, food industry world. So, um, if this is a trigger warning, if you are sensitive to this subject, we're just going to take a small little look at it, like, just a little peek. I mean, if it was just like you're unwrapping a Reese's wrapper, just a little peek inside the Reese's wrapper, just a little bit. We're not going to go too deep, but I just think it's like a good discussion to talk about, and for, just kind of get our thoughts out there, because it, coming up through in restaurants since 1998, it was never ever discussed. So now 2024, I want to talk about it, see what my colleagues think. So, okay.
Throwing out them dates for us.
I know, right? 1998. That was
90s service world,
yeah,
like
that was
very different than nowadays.
during the Clinton administration.
I know. Can you imagine? Like,
It's a long time ago.
scandal.
So, okay, I'm blurry again. Come back. Okay, Joshy, my pedal. Oh, my
Yes,
lights.
darling.
My lights are flickering because we just went through a small hurricane called Hurricane Debbie. We're all safe,
Well, baby one.
and I
Yeah.
hope everyone is safe out there, in the Big Bend area and above. Ooh, flickering again. So hopefully this holds up. Let me make sure I'm recording. Yes. Okay.
So,
All right.
no matter what, there will be a podcast. Whether there's a hurricane or a tsunami, it's happening. Can't stop
Yeah.
it.
Through sleet, through snow, through locked doors, we're coming in.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
so Joshy, you grew up in a small town in Ohio called Warren. When do you
Yeah.
first remember being inspired to pursue a baking and pastry career?
Oh God. I was a wee little baby chef back then. I think I was like 7, like somewhere around there. Because I remember like from being a kid, like I wanted those kitchen sets. Like I didn't want the GI Joe. I wanted like the Fisher Price like kitchen set. I remember when it came out, the fridge and the whole thing. I was like, I
Yeah.
wanted all that. Um,
Easy bake oven?
well, yeah, I stole my sister's Easy Bake Oven from her. She tried it, and like this was before safety rails used to be on the Easy Bake
Mm.
Oven. So she shoved it in there, and the pan fell right on the light bulb and caught on fire. Uh,
Oh my
and so
God.
I found it, I cleaned it all up, and I started baking in it
Yeah.
without like anyone knowing about it. And then I want the kitchen set, and then like one of the first books I bought was a kid's cookbook. But yeah, there's pictures of me like as a kid standing on a chair like peeling potatoes, like with mom in the kitchen. So it was always like just a thing, like a attraction to food.
Yeah. So you started as an early age, just an enthusiast, because to me, you're someone who is like born to be in food and beverage, and like your heart beats icing.
Oh, I mean, I'm American, so maybe
Red, white, and blue
a
icing. The
a high
buttercream
ratio buttercream. Yeah,
pulsing through those veins, baby.
yeah. I really fell in love with it. I think first my mother really inspired it. She was always baking, like all the time as a kid. And to me it was like magic. Like, and it's one of those stories I tell a lot, which is like it's like kind of like watching alchemy happen.
Yeah.
It was magic. Like you take these things that you're not going to eat, like flour and baking soda and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to eat this stuff, and then you put it in a bowl and magically then you end up with chocolate chip cookies, and you're like, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
And it's just like, so it brings always like everyone together. Like food brings the family together, even when they're all angry with each other and stuff. Food brings people together, creates memories, all your favorite holiday memories. What There's food.
Yes.
So it was just like this very inspiring thing that food brought joy. It was cozy. I love the smell of it, like floating through the house, like a fresh pie or something baking in the oven. It just really calls to me. And I always has since I was little, and just stayed with it forever.
Was there turmoil in the house that you were able to stave off by putting some cookies out, or like, do you have anything to talk about with that? Or I feel like
Yeah,
we kind
it's
of
just like
go ahead.
early, like toward middle school, high school, like there was some turmoil. That an older sister, we didn't get along back then.
Hmm.
Parents were both working and like losing their minds because like you had to make ends meet back then.
So you're a latchkey
Uh,
kid.
Yeah, my father worked in a mill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things were sometimes tough. They'd be on strike and stuff, and
Oh,
mom worked in education, and I somehow followed that too for some reason, even not paying attention to her outcomes, but
yeah.
followed education. And but like, there's a lot of drama like who was gonna like if there was gonna be food or dinner or who's gonna make breakfast sometimes, because everyone's like exhausted. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like suddenly took up the mantle and started doing that. I would get up early on the weekends as like a teenager and make breakfast for the family or just cover dinner for the family. And like I used to do it at my grandparents too. I'd practice on the weekends and stuff because like they would end up with us as kids because they're like, it's free babysitting. You got dropped off at the grandma and grandpa's,
Yeah.
and I would cook for them, like helping them out. And my mom's mom, when she got older and she couldn't really cook a lot for herself, I'd go down and meal prep for her.
Oh, that's
So
so
just kind of
sweet.
yeah, I'd make her a whole bunch of things that she could just heat up in the microwave, but she wasn't eating like frozen TV dinners. So like it was like a really thing like to step up and help the family in a really easy way, but also like made me feel really relaxed because I was like, okay, I'm doing something that's
Yeah.
like
You get a little
enjoyable
bit
to me,
more
but
control.
helps. Yeah, and the family would all sit down. There's like a real joy when you make a meal for people and
Mm-hmm.
they enjoy it, right? Like they get to sit down, take 2 minutes from the world and woosah and eat something together, and they're like, I didn't have to make all this. Like it appeared.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have like what a lot of people in the food and beverage industry. We have a servant's heart.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah, it's like the enjoyable aspect. Like you put all this work and love into it, and to see someone enjoy the meal and find comfort in it or create a memory from it, that's the praise. You don't need to be seen. You don't need a direct thank you. It's just like, you know, like we used to say, like when the plate comes back empty, it's like that's the best thank you we can get. Like there's nothing on
yes,
that plate, and you're like, there it is. We did our job well.
that's my applause right there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So little Joshy's in small town Warren, Ohio. So how did you get what brought you to the Pennsylvania Culinary Institute, which later became Le Cordon Bleu? What did that bridge look like from high school to the Culinary Institute, and then it later became Le Cordon Bleu?
Yeah, so I was already like I had the idea of going to culinary school by the beginning of high school. I had the idea I really wanted to go and pursue that. I had actually looked at a couple of the local tech high schools and participating in one of the trade programs.
Yeah.
And joining that, I never did. That's a whole another because I went to Catholic school. That's a whole another story for
Ooh.
another day.
Yeah.
Though they, it was more of a spiteful thing. They really wanted to get rid of me because they didn't care for my
The
lifestyle.
Catholic school?
And yeah, the Catholic school. They weren't a fan that I was, a young queer youth, and they were not,
Yes.
they were a fan of that, and they kept trying to push me into trade school to get rid of me.
Really?
And
So,
so
can I ask, like, would you
yeah,
have graduated a little bit, or was it like a dual enrollment type of thing, where they're like, okay, well, halfway through the day, he's gonna go to welding school?
no, like you actually would transfer as a full-time student to the trade school because
Oh,
they did all the education classes,
uh-huh.
and then like your half of your day was spent in your trade. And at the end, instead of just like a high school diploma, you got that, but you also got a certificate in that field. So you could do like cosmetology or, like a bunch of other things. They had like auto repair and welding classes, but they had a culinary program. They didn't have a pastry program though. I think it's probably why I really didn't lean too heavy into it because if
Yeah,
they would have had a baking program, I would have been like, all right. But
yeah,
they had a culinary program, but I also stayed kind of out of spite because I want to like show the school better than to just treat someone like that.
yeah,
So I was a young rebel. I was a young activist rebel then. I was like, nah, I'm staying. You got to learn how to cope with this.
yeah. I mean,
It's
you had every
different
right.
times.
You were paying the tuition and showing up to
Yeah,
school, and so you had every right to participate just like anyone else. So,
yeah, it was very different times back then. It was very different times. We were, LGBT activists was that was on the spur. That was in the moment. Like we were still trying to make headway.
yeah.
Marriage wasn't even a thought back then. So let alone where we're at now. But yeah, so went through high school. I knew I wanted to go to culinary school. I had already toured the Pennsylvania Culinary Institute, PCI,
Hmm.
back in the day. They had already were in the transition of becoming with Cordon Bleu by then. By the time I got there, but the part of the thought was like they were a well-recognized school at the time, and they were really close to home, so it gave me an option to venture home on the weekends if I needed to. Pittsburgh wasn't too far away; it's only like an hour and 10 minutes from my
But far
parents.
enough. Far
Far
enough.
enough that like it's get to start my life in the city, away
Hmm.
from the family, but close enough that something went, down. It wasn't like I was like way, way far away. Also, the tuition at the time was a little bit appealing because it was a little cheaper than going to the Culinary Institute of America.
Oh God, I
Or
can't.
yeah,
Those guys are still, they're still paying off loans. And
they're
I always
forever.
say, you can always tell a CIA grad, but you can't tell them much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're like
Never changes.
CrossFitters. They'll tell you they went to the CIA. You know,
Oh,
a CrossFitting vegan CIA grad has a real
oh,
hard time figuring out what they're going to tell you first.
it is. It's just like word vomit. They cannot get like it can't like all
Mm-mm.
of it can't get out fast
Can't
enough.
get out fast enough. Do CrossFit in the CIA.
You're
Oh
like,
wow,
good for you. Good for
fantastic!
you.
Wow, it's very
Fantastic. We love
impressive.
we love that for you. Um, but yeah, I toured it. I liked it. It was nearby. It was nice. The program seemed very fitting. It had a lot of options for what times I could go to school, which was important. So I get because I wasn't getting a free ride.
Yeah.
This was also like it's interesting for our time because this was at the height of culinary school. Because culinary for the listeners who don't know, is like culinary was only a trade until the mid 90s, like
Yeah.
around 93 ish is when it became actually recognized as like a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So like before that, it was just so a lot of schools were in that transition. So like kind of we were getting in there, we're in that hype of like, ooh, culinary is a viable, associate's degree. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can go to
It's a
school.
science,
There
yeah.
wasn't, yeah, there wasn't a bachelor's yet. That happened when I was in school.
Yeah.
It didn't exist yet, but it was exciting because it was like a lot of people were on this Food Network hit its big boom during this era,
Mm-hmm.
right? During the early 2000s, the 2004, like Food Network was like in its heyday. We were all watching some cooking show or another, and it was like, yeah, go be a celebrity chef, go be like Emeril Lagasse or something.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to love him. And like she bought the pans, everything. She was all in on some Emeril,
I mean, he was
and
very charismatic. You know, it was
he
hard not
was.
to
He
love
was like
him.
that. He was that kind of era's like kind of Julian Child, if you will, which
Mm-hmm.
is like right, like it was a show. There was character and personality. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
And so like watching a lot of those like was like, yeah, food's the way to go. Everyone needs to eat. My father, when I was trying like originally picking out a career, like he was like, there's three good jobs. He goes, everyone wants to sue someone so you can be a lawyer.
Mm.
He goes, everyone dies so you can be a mortician.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He goes, and everyone needs to eat so you can always be a chef. Those three, there's always a job.
It's true. He was right. The
And
old
I was
man
like,
was
hey,
right.
like, it's not wrong.
Not wrong.
So, but I was very like loving food. I was very involved in it. I started my first job already in high school, like around 14, 15. I started as a busboy and worked my way into the kitchen. I
Mm-hmm.
was helping do prep work all through high school. I worked in food service. I've never had a normal job. I've only been in food service.
Really?
Uh, yeah, yeah, it's all been food service. I've worked from bussers, servers, front house man, but all in food service
Yeah.
in some capacity. Yeah, my whole even as an educator, like both education jobs were
In
food.
food and beverage, yeah.
Yeah, nothing in like normal office job.
Yeah. I worked at Camelot Music
See, that's so interesting.
in the
I love that.
90s, you know?
I love that.
But I think that was pretty much my only job outside of food and beverage, too.
This fits like your rock star background though. So like
Hmm?
this fits your rock
I
star
guess. And
background.
yeah, I love music and stuff, so it fit.
You have to tell them about your ska band days,
I did. I had a
at some
ska
point on
band.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played trumpet in a ska band. I was a little skank and pickle. So I was looking at your profile on classmates.com,
Oh my
and
God. I have one.
you list one of your favorite books as How I Learned to Snap. Did this book
Wow.
did this book open a gateway for you to learn how to snap your fingers?
Uh,
Did you ever learn?
I
Can you show
I
us?
forgot.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that is fantastic. One more time. That is pretty elegant, if you ask me.
Uh, so I forgot I had that. That's like pulling up like I forgot I had that page. That's like pulling up like I was looking at your MySpace and I see that you like Mean
You're
Girls.
so
It's like
lucky I didn't find your MySpace.
uh, it exists still.
I'm
I did log
sure.
into it at one
Oh,
point,
they're
but
there.
yeah, it's still there. It's just
Uh-huh.
one of those like funny things of like a tragic. Like I forgot about Classmate. I forgot that existed. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Classmates.com.
gonna have to update that bad boy. That's a fun book. It's by Kirk Reed, one of my favorite queer authors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has a whole series of books. They're really easy to read. A lot of them have to do with sections of their upbringing as a small town queer boy trying to figure out life in, like in during an era before the internet, which I know is hard to imagine, dear listeners, but
Mm, God,
being a sassy queer,
mm,
like where it's like
the
there's
sassiest.
these moments where like you're like reading it and like the whole point is like, and in that moment I snapped and I just gave them the sass or read them the
Oh,
tea or like, and it's a very fun book because it's a whole series of these like page and a half short stories of like these fun scenarios of their upbringing.
so here I
But
am
yeah, they have a
trying to read you for filth, and it's actually like this really sweet like thing.
Yeah, it's a good book. I actually literally have it. It's sitting on the shelf right
No,
over here. Like, yeah, it's right here.
I
I
love
read
it.
it I periodically. It is war. I can grab it. It
I
is
also
it
love
is.
that you cited
I'm
that you
grabbing
love
it.
show tunes as well.
Oh my God, I love show tunes. Look at this. Look, I, it is a
And there it
worn.
is. How I learned to
She is a
snap.
worn.
Oh,
She is
look.
a
Looks like an
worn.
easy read. Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
super. It's super
Yeah,
thin.
for
It's an easy
ADHD
read.
mind. Yeah, get right through it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it has also like little insights about like culture and things on like meeting people but yeah, it's a warrant. She has been read a many
Mm.
many a
I
time.
can't believe you had it
Uh
within reach. Wow,
yeah,
that's
I actually have like four
bonkers.
or five of their books on a little shelf because like
Yeah,
it's one of those ones every now and then like I once want to read something if I have like 10 minutes I'm trying
yeah,
to kill.
yeah.
I'll pick it up and just randomly open to a page and just read one of the short stories. But
Cute. I love it. That's cute.
but yeah, show tune. I mean, what LGBT member doesn't love a
Me.
short tune? A show tune. You like show
Unpop
tunes at
unpopular
all?
opinion. I do not like musicals.
That's true. You don't.
I
That's
as
true.
soon as people start singing, and I know I'm gonna get red for this one, but as soon as people as soon as people start singing, I'm like, ugh, my eyes roll, and I'm like, are we gonna go through this? Okay, he picked up the pen. Do we have to freaking
It's a
write a whole song
wonderful
about it?
day for
Yeah,
pie.
it's not my thing. Unpopular opinion. I just saw maybe in the last like 2-3 years, The Sound of Music,
Oh God.
and I
I mean,
was like,
that's like you know what though. See, like that one's one of those ones that like if you really love musicals, you're gonna love it
yeah,
because it's a classic. But if you don't, that's like the Titanic of musicals. It's a long movie if you don't care about that boat, right?
yeah,
It's a long movie if you don't care about a love story or that boat. You're like, why is this three
yeah.
hours?
It was long.
It's it's a long one.
Never saw it
Um,
until
it's
recently.
already funny because I've met several people who don't like it, like they don't generally like them, but they'll get into certain ones, like going to see Chicago or like certain Broadway productions they'll get into, but not full like older classical musicals because they are long. But yeah, I do love a show tunes. I used to love going to show tune night at the old bar in
And
Cleveland.
sing along.
Yeah, where it was drag queen sing along with the show tunes. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I probably could get down with this singing along with drag queens. It's a chaos in my mind. You know, part of me wants to have the fun, but the other part of me, like, I cannot sit down and watch a movie where this is going to happen. So, um, it's almost like,
Planning a content where if there's singing, I'm
yeah, I'm
out.
out.
Like how
Yeah.
do you get to a Disney movie
I
with the
don't really
kiddos?
watch Disney movies. Like, I'm not,
Okay,
I'm very, not really well learned on the
that's fair.
Disney. Sometimes I've seen them and sometimes not. So, going down the
They've eased
list.
up. They've also eased up a lot on the musical aspect in a lot of the newer ones at Pixar and stuff too. They don't have
Yeah, I
they're
can
not
do
as
a
like musical as
Pixar.
they used to be. Yeah, they're not as musical as they used to be. They're more like these are life lessons
Yeah.
compared to like everything was a sing along fairy tale.
Yeah. I mean, that I can get down with.
God, I'm scared. I'm like, what else is on this profile that I don't remember
Oh, do
having?
you want to see it? I have it
Oh, I'm scared. I'm
I
terrified.
I
Oh God, so
it's
long.
so long. Okay, I'll
Oh,
read it to
like
you.
oh
Okay,
oh,
here we go.
oh
I'll read it.
no!
Here we go. I got to put these up though.
Oh no!
Okay, Josh is from Warren, Ohio. Josh's schools include Kennedy High School. Josh later attended the Pennsylvania. This is where I got all this information about you.
I thought you just
I
remembered.
did.
I was all flattered. I was like, dang,
I did my
look at you
research.
remembering my life
Well,
story. And I'm like, I feel like a bad person. I was like, where did
no,
she
you're
go
like,
to school?
where are you even from? I have been listening to a lot of Maddie Morphosis Talk to Me Straight podcast, and
Mm,
Maddie is an amazing interviewer, and I've learned a lot. So anyway, I'm trying to do my best, Maddie. So anyway, here we go.
I am thoroughly impressed right now.
Pennsylvania Culinary Institute, Baking and Pastry
Yep.
Associates. Josh worked at Annie's Euro American Bakery,
Oh, okay.
YCA Culinary School, Walt Disney Resort. So we're gonna get to that
Yeah.
as well, because you are the most, when you're in front of, the moment this guy is in front of someone, he turns into, you can't even believe it. It's the most endearing, sweet fellow, and he can tell anybody anything in any tone. Sorry, the tone stays the same. He's very sweet. But he can tell them literally that their eyeballs are falling out of their head, or they're not allowed to do something, and they're like, "Okay." Like, "Oh," and they're so endeared by him. I do not possess that. I am opposite. What he has with this Disney business, I have opposite. So I know y'all are shocked. Okay. So also, music Josh likes includes show tunes, rock,
Mhm.
just rock.
I do like rock.
Not not any. Well, here we go. A specific rock. Here we go. Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, wow.
Books Josh likes include Twilight, The Soul of a Chef, How I Learned to Snap.
Yeah.
Movies Josh likes include Iron Man,
Oh my
Scott
God. What?
Pilgrim versus the World, Thor. TV shows include Walking Dead, Hell's Kitchen, and Ren and Stimpy.
I love Ren and
That's like
Stimpy.
so 3 different things.
Very different avenues of who I am.
That
You
makes
know, like,
sense. It's like a fruit salad of like,
yeah.
it's
Who put a raisin in the
like a
fruit
candy
salad?
salad.
Like,
My name is Josh, and I brought the raisinettes. And he dumps it in.
yeah.
Somebody else walks
Like,
behind them.
chocolate covered raisins are not candy. Uh, I forgot about that. Oh my God, I gotta update that. So,
Why? Who
yeah, that was
cares?
a hot dated.
It's a
That was
it's a
a hot
time
dated
capsule.
moment. It is because that was during a different era. I was reading the Twilight books, which is funny because I bought them for somebody else. Yeah, that's I do love Ren and Stimpy though. So
I met, and I don't know if I should tell this story because it's kind of long, but not really. But
give the Cliff Note version.
okay, I'll do the Cliff Note version. So Billy West is the voice of Ren and Stimpy. He's also the Red M&M, and he's also Fry on Futurama, right? So he's a very well-known cartoon voice. So anyway, when I had my restaurant years ago, we had this regular, her name is Violet, and I'm still friends with her to this day. And Violet was like kind of like a loose cannon, she just showed up by herself, and she would like have her wine, and we just talk about stuff. But she was from out of town. She lived in Westchester, New York, and she just would come to town. I don't know why. I think to see her brother. But anyway,
Oh,
she says to me one day, "Can you make?" We used to do brunch. Sorry, let me fix my camera. We used to do brunch at the restaurant. So she liked my oatmeal. She's like, "Can you make it vegan for my ex-husband? He's going to be in town. He's doing a signing over at this place." And I go, "Oh, what does your ex-husband do?" And she's like, um, she goes, he does cartoon voices. I was like, "Oh, cool. She goes, "His name's Billy West." I go, your ex-husband is Billy West?" And she looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why do you know who Billy West is? Because I'm like a dork, Of course, I know who Billy West is. I liked Futurama and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I didn't believe her. So
you're like, yeah, all right.
I go out that night, night, whatever. I come in, and my server calls me and is like, "Hey, can you get here? There's a guy at the door, and he says you're going to make him vegan oatmeal." And I get there, and Billy West is at the door of so I go, "Oh my God, Mr. West, come on in." So I made vegan oatmeal for him one time. And then I like catered for him the whole time he was in town. I would like bring him vegan food over at his little, the place he was staying and all that. And he was very cool. He used to he would do voices and tell us really funny stories. So he's also sober. So Billy West.
Yes, congrats on that.
Yeah, 4 years for me on August 1st.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
thank
that.
you.
Yay, on the healthy bandwagon.
Yeah,
I also love that you had the skill set back then to make vegan food when vegan food was cardboard, because people don't realize that, right? Because like nowadays we have all the fabulous vegan food. Like this was moons ago.
Yeah.
Moons ago. What a skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I always found making vegan food a lovely challenge because
I love it.
I mean, because it's like, I make all this stuff or whatever, it's all wonderful, but then the thing is like, if you can make plant-based food the star, like
Hmm.
I feel like that's a challenge. So anyway, I like making vegan food. I'm not vegan. I just enjoy making vegan food.
Except for that one time you made me a tofu turkey.
No, here's the thing. Josh decides he's gonna be a vegan for.
Well,
It was like
vegetarian,
he was
not
playing
vegan. I was a full vegan.
right. He was whatever vegetarian,
I
and
still wanted
I
that
was
cheese.
like, I made mac and cheese one time for a family party because we were always together, you know. And I go, you gotta try this mac and cheese, and he tries it, and he goes, God, it tastes good. I go, yeah, I put chicken base in it. And he goes, I'm vegetarian now. I go, you're serious about that? I didn't believe him. Poor Joshy. I'm trying to poison him, but you know, I didn't really think it was. I mean, we ate so much meat together. Like we made it. It was like a sport. Like we were like meat sweats. Yes, let's have it. We would, when we eat, we're like ridiculous. So
I
anyway,
have to
I didn't
update
believe
my
it.
profile to that in the meat sports.
We were in the meat sports.
Meat sports.
Yeah. Um.
That could be taken out of context.
Yeah.
Into the meat sports.
Together.
We did. We ate.
We
We ate.
participated
We
together.
used to. We would eat something. We make some salami roses and eat them. Uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, it was fun. But you still made a full plant-based version
I did for
for me and
Thanksgiving.
the spouse back then.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was very sweet of you.
Yeah.
It was very fun. You're like after I remember after you're like, can you stop doing this so we can just eat
No.
the good stuff?
Then you decided you were not vegan anymore, and I was like, oh, thank God. I'm so tired of making this like extra. Of course, I'm not like supportive about it. I'm not like, oh, Joshy, how do you feel? Like, I'm just like, ugh, thank God. So skipping ahead a little bit, you go to pastry school, you graduate, you're at Disney. Boom.
At
Um,
Disney.
so this to me is like your first real job. To correct me if I'm wrong, like the Disney.
Uh, I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
professional job, yeah. Because while I was in school, I worked actually for like Chili's and things like that. All restaurant jobs, but I was at the Omni William Penn for a while doing their garde kitchen when I was in culinary school.
William Penn. What
Uh,
is that?
the Omni William Penn's a hotel brand.
Oh,
There's one in Pittsburgh, there's one at Disney. They're like a really high-end hotel, but that's actually where the pastry kitchen used to be back in the day, as we were in the Penn building. And so I worked there in the gourmet kitchen when I was in college. But yeah, graduated, did my internship at Disney, and that was like the first like real like big industry kitchen too. Because like while the hotel was big, it was like not Disney big. And yeah, I got to explore the world of Disney for several years. Worked under a chocolates master, which was a lot of fun. Learned tons under them. Learned all my magic Disney mannerisms that get
yeah.
me out of trouble apparently all the time.
With me only. With everybody else, they find you so endearing.
Um, like it's like one of those things like about Disney is like you drink the Kool-Aid or you don't. There's
Mm,
no happy middle ground. You don't kind of drink the
yeah.
Kool-Aid. You drink it all, and you are full Disney or you're not. Because if you're in that middle ground that you're not, you're gonna get weeded out over time.
They root
Like
you out.
yeah, like you're just also gonna get worn out by it because they expect you to be of that caliber all the time, which is use the right hand gestures and say the right things and
Hmm.
like constantly be aware. Like you can never have your back to a guest in any room in any situation. You have to
Oh my God.
position yourself, and there's this whole awareness of like they train you to be as like guest focused. Um, but yeah, like it's either you're all in or you're not. So they cancel you out real quick if you if you don't got it.
Canceled.
So I did that for a number of years. I was at Universal for a little while after that, and then later over to teaching. I did some teaching. I used to teach little goobers. We
What's a
had
little goober?
3 to 5 year
Okay,
olds,
there we
like
go.
little kids, little 3 to 5 year olds.
Hmm.
They were called kinder cooks back then, and then we also had middle school, and then we had high school. So it was like pre-prep, and if they did the program, it was connected in like injunction with the Cordon Bleu. They could then go take classes and skip some of the early
Oh
prerequisites
wow.
with Cordon Bleu, like because we did serve safe and everything like that, so they didn't have to do those when they got to college. Um, and then, yeah, you said I was at Annie's before. That was where I used to design cakes for like companies like Neiman Marcus and Costco, places like that that would contract us to design special cakes for catalogs or shows. And then, yeah, that came up, wondered and found my way up to where you were.
Yeah. Then we met, and we've been in love ever
Then we
since.
met. And that's we lived happily ever after.
So in your time during, when you were like in heavy in the field, you're working, I don't know. How many hours did you work as like a
Oh
Disney
God.
employee? Were they overtiming you, or what was that
Oh yeah,
like?
yeah, yeah. Disney teaches you a worth ethic. I tell you what,
Do
back
they?
then. Well, so first off, a disclosure about this was like, so this is early, was it 2004, 5 when I
Mhm.
first got there. Um, Wages were like 6.15.
Wow.
So you're living in Orlando on 6.15 an hour,
Mhm.
and yeah, so you had at least a minimum of 45 to 50 hour work week scheduled as an intern. That was guaranteed. Like
Mhm.
you were always around 50 hours. And then anytime something happened or an event or something, then you got scheduled on top of that
Uh-huh.
because they would just willy nilly give you the OT back then. They're like, we don't care, food's got to go out. And then during major holidays like Christmas, there were like times where like I basically just didn't leave
Yeah.
property because I would get up, do like a 14-hour shift, and then I would have another shift 4 to 5 hours after that, what they call double booking, which is if you had less than 8 hours scheduled between your two shifts, and they would do that. Like, and they used to do it for like face characters and things like that too, if they need them for all the parades, especially during Christmas, that you would be booked for another shift with less than 8 hours between your, it's called a turnaround. And so we would have to be back on property. The problem with that is if you lived not near property, it's an hour or two to get back to the parks and back through all that chaos during Christmas
Oh God.
and then to your work location. So there were a couple of weeks during Christmas where I just stayed on property and I would just literally go to the locker room, shower, take a nap in one of the chairs, and then go back to the
It's
kitchen
wild.
for days. December was good payroll, but you'd work, 100 hours. It was crazy. It
So
was just like,
it's fair to say you probably had some mental health suffering during that time.
oh yeah,
It's
uh,
funny to me how in food and beverage it's kind of an expectation just to work until your feet fall off and your eyeballs roll across
mhm.
the room. Has any employer, you know, had anything extra in order to make sure that your mental health was intact while they're working you all these hours?
So again, like it depends. I had one. One of my more recent ones
Oh,
had things. Older jobs, no. This was a newer thing.
yeah,
Mental health and overall health
wellness.
wellness like that wasn't a big thing. It was very much of that work ethic. You worked, you got the job done, no matter what it took, and you went home, you took a nap, or you had back in the day, kids. This doesn't exist anymore. We had a shift drink. And you had
Yes.
that shift drink, and that stopped. But that shift drink was your your mental wellness check
Yeah.
back then. But they don't do that anymore, obviously, for good reason. Um, but a lot of the older times, no, you just worked and you died on your day off. You took a
Yeah.
you just slept all day and
You rotted in your bed.
somehow adulted. Yeah, you lived in your bed and you dragged yourself
Yeah.
back. Now, I mean, like nowadays, a lot of them have, like even the past one, like the Mouse has done things. I know people who work there now, and they have restricting on hours. They
That's
do
good.
have wellness things. They have even therapy dogs floating around.
Aw,
They have a lot of, yeah, they have little doggos who come by and like hang out in like the cast rooms and stuff,
sweet.
so they can play with the dog and stuff. So yeah, they have made improvements because they, like a lot of companies, a lot of major ones that do look at these things, right, have looked and gone, hey, this is a real thing. And obviously, employee wellness equates to loyalty and longevity of that employee rather than them burning out and going, which was, what kind of happened with me back in the day in the old Magic Company, which was I worked and worked and worked and worked. I did it for years and I burned out like hard.
Yeah.
And I remember I took like a 4 month sabbatical away from work.
Yeah.
I was done. I lived on the beach like a hermit. I did like really scraggy, like a beach bum for like 4 months in my friend's beach house
Yeah.
in Daytona. And I was like looking at like applying to like, it's so funny, but uh, of me of all people, I was looking at actually applying to like the Orlando Police Department. I was gonna like
To do
go
what?
be, become a cop.
Oh, get out of
Uh,
here.
yeah, 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 yeah.
The most
I know,
empathetic.
like,
Well, then again, you would be like, "How can we help?
how can we help you,
How can we
sir? Is
help?"
everything okay? Like, no, we're not gonna write you a ticket right now. Don't be silly.
Amazing. I love that.
Can you imagine? But like I was here, I filled out the application. I was
Yeah.
actually about to go to the training. I was actually at a date to start
Uh huh.
training. because I was like, I can't do food industry anymore. This is gonna like murder me. Like
Yes.
I'm gonna have no well being. I was exhausted. I was stressed out all the time. I was like around people that were yelling all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I was like, I can't handle this. Like it killed my love for food for a while.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like. I think I need another job. Or if I'm gonna be yelled at, there's a good reason because I'm chasing a bad guy or something. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I did apply to that, and then I got like a little moment. Like I woosad, and I came back and I found that's how I ended up actually from there in the teaching. And I was like shopping around and I found the teaching job by accident, and that rekindled a lot of that joy because it
Yeah.
was like very different environment, very different pace. It was really nice. I had days off at where I needed them. The pace was way more reasonable, and but also getting to share that fun spark of joy of food with like the kids was like it was that refresher.
Yeah.
I really needed.
So,
Now,
I mean, like you
but
touched on something that I say a lot in the kitchen is that this is not an ER. These things don't need to be, this serious. So
hmm
it sounds like you lost your love for a moment of food and beverage and having that servant's heart, but then you still wanted to do and serve people, and you figured if somebody's going to yell at me, I may as well be in a life or death situation. And
yeah,
it's interesting how those two things are, kitchens sometimes can be just as stressful. And I'm not saying that like, it's an ER, but the feeling because of guest expectations and the competition and everything to do with food and beverage is so tough that it almost does feel like, and it's like, why are we screaming?
right.
So it's interesting that you identified that way back then, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird position to be in because like you just fresh out of school, like you have this like expectations of magic and wonder, and you're starting your career, and then like run over by a bus,
Yeah.
and it was just so alarming. I was like, I don't think I could do this for the long term if this is what it is. And I think you're right. Like like, we can't exactly equate to that, but it's that urgency. It's that sense of like this has to happen, or there's going to be like a major
Blood's gonna spill,
consequence,
and it's
and
like no
yeah,
arteries
and it's
are
like
chopped
it's
open. It's not that serious. This ketchup is
yeah,
not
but
that
it
serious.
feels like it because like
It
this
does feel like
plate's
it.
3 minutes late
Mm-hmm.
going out, and three people are screaming at
Yeah.
you for it. And it's like, especially like when you look at the pace of like man, I spent a lot of money to go to culinary school.
Yeah. To get
Culinary
screamed.
school's not cheap.
Really,
It
it
wasn't
is.
cheap. Yeah,
It's not
oh
cheap.
yeah, it wasn't cheap. And I was like, man, I'm like, thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, and I'm making 6.15 an hour to literally have three people scream at me all day.
Yeah, really.
It's like
Juice ain't worth
this
the
is
squeeze.
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was such a. It was like it's such a moment of like, wow. Now, one of my more recent jobs definitely again has adapted that those steps. They have weekly yoga.
Ooh, yeah.
They have their own yoga. They
Sweaty
have
wombat.
different sweaty wombat.
Mm,
Downward dog.
get in it.
But they do. They have like they have a we were on the block out quiet hours in our schedule to like have some musa or meditation
Mm-hmm.
time. They offered a bunch of services. They offered tons of free health services and like all kinds of like options for being able to talk to people,
Yeah.
therapy, things like that. It was all built into our wellness package, and we had like a weekly employee
Wellness
wellness.
package. So
Yeah,
things are
it's
getting
called the
better.
wellness package. Yeah,
That's
and so
good.
things are getting better overall in industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a recognition of that, which is like if we burn these people out, like there's not an endless
Yeah.
supply,
There's not no the pipelines
which we saw after the
we
pandemic.
did.
Really,
The pipeline is definitely closing because there's so many schools that are, the Art Institute is closed. Your former school, the Le Cordon
oh yeah,
Bleu, has closed.
gone.
I know that Escoffier School just laid off a bunch of employees. There's it's too expensive to go and make minimum wage, so
hmm
this pipeline is disappearing. So yeah, they do need to definitely I guess they're putting in some work in food and beverage to keep some longevity there, which is good, because back in the day, like you said, we had that shift drink. I mean, when I worked at a steakhouse for 8.5 years, 9 years, and we called it the AA meeting. We'd go and sit at the bar, and not to obviously say anything funny about AA, but like that's what we called it. And there was a Fridays across in the same parking lot, and then Fridays closed at 2 in the morning. So we'd go there till 2. When that closed, we'd go to Jacaranda Pub. Jacaranda Pub closed at 4, and then right from Jacaranda Pub to Scarlett's, the strip club. So, like,
Yeah, you
you
had a
know,
round system. Like, yeah,
that's
we
how
used to
we
do it
did
on
it,
Fridays too.
and we did that. We did that a lot, and before you know it, you're just like caught in this cycle
Hmm.
of never ending. But I think that things are maybe a little bit different now, and people are being a little bit more smart with their time because it was just a wild and crazy time back then.
It was because that was in the forefront or thought. I think also, like how awful the pandemic was. It did cause a major overhaul of the industry,
Hmm.
right? Because like everyone wasn't working, and then when you tried to bring everybody back in, you're like, hey, come back to work all these hours for minimum wage. Everyone's like,
No, they already
no,
got new careers.
no,
They
I'm not doing
started,
that.
yeah,
I make my own sourdough at home, and I'm knitting sweaters for my cat. I'm not doing that.
that's right.
Um,
There was a shift in employment, unlike anything we had seen
mhm.
because we were all forced to stay home, and then they people realized like I don't need to put myself through this hell. So yeah, I think you're right.
And we saw a lot of focus on wellness and mental health wellness during that because everyone was being isolated, right? We're stuck at home. We heard people start thinking about it more. Companies started thinking about it more because they're like, okay, now when they come back, we have to kind of like reprogram
Hmm.
because like we were in these where we could sit and have a meditation day or do whatever we wanted. We had a lot of time to
Yeah.
ourselves, and so a lot of companies have adapted a lot of that, which is like, oh, well, if you can do your job just fine at home and you're doing it on a yoga ball, do it. Like stay there, do it. So we've seen a lot of progress
Yeah.
in that way, and like industry wise too, which they've realized that burning employees out, there's not a line out the door like there used to be for people to come work in a restaurant.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of restaurants are unfortunately short staffed nowadays. Even now, right? You go out and you're like, oh, there's a really long wait. It's like I was at a restaurant in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, and the line was like the wait was like 4 hours, but there
Oh
was
my
only like
god.
10. Yeah, like it was like there was, but there was like only half the restaurant was sat, and I was like something's going on. So I asked the hostess, and she's like, yeah, she goes, we only have three cooks. Like she goes, half the kitchen
Yeah.
didn't show up today, and I'm like. Like those poor guys. I was like ready to like pull out my card back. You need help? Like I was like, I'll jump on,
Yeah.
I'll jump on the line, help these poor guys. But yeah, like there's a recognition of like you can't do that anymore. We can't do that to employees anymore
Hmm.
because they're not. There's not like it used to be this kind of like idea that like oh, especially in the heyday of culinary school, there's a thousand graduating every like
Yeah.
30 days. So like if you don't want this job, mopping the floors 20 hours a day, then someone else will take it.
Right.
And that's not the case anymore.
No.
Like you have to put a real value into their well-being and their mental well-being.
Right. Yes. Okay, I have a question. What would you
Ooh,
say to this,
oh my god.
Josh, if you had,
Why are you
hold on, here we
doing
go.
this to me?
Wait.
uh,
You have a chance
what?
to talk to Josh. Now, if you guys are listening on your headphones in your car or whatever, I'm holding up a picture
Uh,
of Josh that is, I mean, to me, he's the
oof.
most handsome devil. He looks like a baby Tom Cruise to me, but he's got this
Oh,
spiky, goofy hair and
yeah,
this
yeah.
goobery smile, and he's probably, I don't know, how old do you think you are there? Maybe 20,
Yeah.
18, 20,
No, like no, that's a little older. That's actually
22?
2012.
Okay,
That's like 20. That's like 2012. I don't know, or was that 2012? It's hard to remember. Uh,
well, what
what
does
is
the
that?
jacket say?
That's from Young Chefs. That's what I was at Young Chefs.
Okay,
That's like
so,
20. That's like 2010 actually. That's like
all right,
2010.
so
So
2010 Josh.
it's like yeah, 20,
What would you
21,
say to
or
this
23.
guy if you had a chance
Uh,
to, obviously, I know you're a science guy, so this is not going to interrupt the space-time continuum, and you're not going to be your own grandfather or anything like that. You're just going to say, give him this guy, whisper him advice. What would it be?
uh, take more time for yourself.
Love it.
Because during that era, I was all in, like, which was like with this mindset of if I just give it my all and just give all my time to the industry at the time, right? Like I am going to burn my way to the top, make a bunch of money, and be super happy. Not the case.
Yeah.
Uh, I made great progress in my years of like how far I got, how quickly, which was great. But there's a cost to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that work balance life kind of cost, which is I missed out on a lot of things. I was away from home a lot.
Mm.
I wasn't around my family a lot. I missed seeing my niece and nephew grow up. Most of their time, like I only used to go home like once or twice a year, maybe. For a good number of years, there was a stint there where I didn't go home for 3 years when I first got to Disney
Oh my
because I
God.
was just working. Because no time. Like I had to work every holiday. You were especially as someone new in the industry. I was expected to work every Christmas, Easter, all the major holidays, and all the senior staff got those days off. So take some time for yourself to put that a little more forward, which is like, take time to have some quality of life with friends, spend some time with the family.
Yeah.
They're no, we're not all here forever, unfortunately. Because yeah, like burning through it to constant burnout because you're like trying to chase that dollar,
Mm-hmm.
it's not worth it. And consider that, that the value of your time is not always the value of that dollar.
Yeah.
Sometimes having some downtime is worth way more than that day of pay.
I love it. This is great advice. I hope little Joshy takes it. Okay, we're gonna play a game. Ready? Here's our game.
Ooh, okay, here's again.
The game is called 86 or 68, right? 86 meaning get rid of it. 68
Get rid of it.
meaning we keep it. Okay? 86 or 68. All right. Fancy ramen, kicked up ramen.
68. I love ramen. I love ramen. I love a nudie.
A nudie.
I love a wet nudie.
Oh.
A wet nudie.
So much for lightning. Okay. Fancy foams, right? Like fancy foams on a plate as a garnish.
86.
Yeah.
Over it.
Dehydrated fruit as a drink garnish.
86. Yeah.
Air fryers.
Ooh, 68. I love the air fryer. Air fryers are pretty
I
handy.
use mine literally every day.
Yeah, like I do too. I use one like every day. It's like, wait, we need this.
we need to have this.
We need more of these.
Yeah, air fryer. I love an air fryer. Everything crispy. And then I'm like, silly air fryer. Everything's a French fry. Like, take all the other buttons away. I put it on French fry.
It works for everything. It's like chicken French fries.
Put it in. Okay, ghost pepper fries. 86 or 68?
86.
Yeah, too hot.
I'm not spicy. I'm not spicy.
Okay, then that's my next question. Nashville chicken sandwiches.
Oh, the Nashville chicken sandwich. 68. I like a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
I like a chicken.
Look, I mean, I feel like you can like dress it up with cheese and stuff. It's not so spicy.
Yeah. You can put a nice sauce on and
Yeah.
a saucy poo. Yeah.
Using chopsticks to eat a bag of chips.
I know so many people who do this.
I'm sure you do. This is right. This is in your. Go ahead.
Literally married to somebody who does this.
Where's your chopsticks, by the way?
I have a whole drawer full.
I'm sure you
downstairs.
do. And your Cheetos.
I bought a whole bunch of them when I was in Japan. I bought whole sets of them. They're so cute.
That's a flex.
Really fancy ones.
Okay, so have you done it?
Yeah, I have.
Of course you have.
I do like well, because my other half at the point was doing it. I was like, oh, this is smart when I'm like playing video games because I don't have to touch them and get my hands all covered.
Okay, so we're gonna say
We're
68.
we're 68. We'll keep it.
I thought so. Pineapple on pizza.
Oh no, 86. No.
Okay, can I?
Oh,
I want to throw a flag on the play.
Go for it.
So, pineapple on pizza. Pineapple only belongs on pizza if there is a smoky pork product, a salty pork product, right? So ham,
yeah.
Like some
Some
sort of
rich bacon
kielbasa
or something,
sausage,
yeah.
bacon, like because it's salty and sweet. That's all I'm gonna say. Lab grown meat.
Oh no, that's gotta go. That's 86. That's
86 lab grown meat. Okay, all right. That's our game.
That's it.
That's our show. No, that's our
I'd
game.
like to go deeper this lab grown meat at this point because like we have somebody like if we want to do away from certain meats, we already have such better alternative plant based nowadays. Like
yes, but I did see that there.
I heard it on your last rant.
Yes,
about it.
my last rant. But I'm following this closely. This lab grown meat, and I did see that they're now making foie gras.
Oh really?
I know. And so you don't have to nail the goose's foot to the floor and shove a funnel in its mouth and get it fatty. Like it's, as soon as they said they're starting to try and make foie gras, I'm like, oh man, this might be a thing.
See,
then.
I guess like that's one
really
of those kind of
humane,
exceptional cases, which is like if it gets away from really inhumane practices like that. Yeah. Sure, but like I don't need like a 3D printed steak.
I don't want to. I don't want that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good job, Joshy. You did good. Okay. All right. Next up, we're gonna do some food news, and then we're gonna do our favorite tool. Okay, so food news. Here it comes.
Breaking news. I'm excited.
I know you're gonna be shocked to hear this, but Bucca de Beppo filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. They cited owning between 15 to $50 million to creditors, so they owe some money. They cited also that customer preference changes along with the rising food costs, you know, made them have to close dozens of locations. 44 locations, along with 2 overseas locations, are going to remain open for business. They're hoping that the restructuring will, kind of force them into modernizing, I guess. I mean, I haven't stepped foot inside a Bucca de Beppo in, I have no idea, maybe 10 years. But I mean, I liked them because, I'm of Italian American descent, and so, the idea of like all this, the tchotchkes and everything, it really blew my skirt up. But now, I don't know. I mean, they might be able to pull out of this, but what do you think about that?
I mean, they might be able to restructure. I mean, Red Lobster's doing it for the third
Are
time,
they?
so yeah, they filed they filed bankruptcy again.
Oh,
That's a whole scandal going on with them because of their the company that bought them sold the land that the restaurants sit on and then turned around and lease it back to the restaurant.
oh God, that's smart.
So they're trying
Why
to like
can't I can be that
basically
smart?
yeah, well, they're trying to like basically make them pay for the buyout
Mm-hmm.
of their selves,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it became this whole thing, and they're in bankruptcy again. And
Mm.
Jimmy Oliver just did a whole thing on
Did
it, so it
he?
was really great.
He's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's fantastic. I love it, but yeah, like I think they could restructure. The problem is with a lot of businesses, I think with like especially after
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, is how do they modernize to meet current changes and needs, which is
Yeah.
like if you're not in the online or getting the delivery stuff done, like you're missing out. But also if have they invented any aspects that make it fresh and relevant? Because people have a
Yeah.
different expectation of what they want from a lot of menus now after pandemic.
Yeah, I guess you're right in that their whole thing is like, "Oh, feed your whole family, bring them all over here." And then it was like we couldn't really be together, so I guess that makes sense. Okay, well, we'll follow that closely. Ohio-based fast food chain Wendy's is gearing up to ensure Gen Z continues to drive through. Wendy's has teamed up with streetwear brand Lonely Ghost for a limited time launch of merch including camo hats, crew neck tops, wide leg sweatpants, stickers, and baby doll shirts. Um, to, I mean, would I wear something?
All
I mean,
right.
I don't know how popular this ghost, what is it called? Lonely Ghost streetwear is, but kudos to them for
No, never
trying
heard of 'em.
to bring the Gen Zers in, because that's they're starting to get, they've got their own money now, they're rocking around, but they're still like, you know they're still really into trend. Like if you told me like what trend would bring me, what type of would it be? Levi's? Would I be like, oh, it's a special edition Levi's Wendy's jean? Would
A
I go get that?
Birkenstock.
Like Birkenstock. Would I go get a special edition Wendy's Birkenstock? Or I don't know. What would it be? For me, I don't know. That would be hard. But it sounds like Gen Z. That's a really good. Have you ever heard of this? Lonely Ghost?
No, I never heard of
I'm going to
them.
look them up.
This is just, yeah, I need to look them up. That's very interesting. Lovely Coast, especially since it being Ohio. It's like, all right, well, it's my old neck of the woods. It's just the niece and nephew. They're a
Well,
necker.
Wendy's is from
They're
Ohio.
like,
I don't know that Lonely Ghost is from Ohio, but Wendy's is based in Ohio. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, this is relevant to my very special guest.
I've never
I don't know
heard
what
of
a wide
Lonely
leg
Ghost. This is
sweatpant is.
interesting.
For me, also, I like a tapered sweatpant because I'm very short. So,
A
yeah,
tapered
yeah, I
sweat.
want the little
Yeah,
cuff around there so I can, they've also got
interesting.
stickers, camo hats. They would do well in Tallahassee, Florida. I'll tell
Oh
you that
yeah, I'm
much.
looking at it. That's very yeah. The camel hat will do well in Ohio.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
that's
good
really
on
interesting.
you.
Like I see it, $30 for a camel
They
hat.
also have like a robust social media, deal where
I tell you what though, those wide leg sweatpants are
I'm
$100.
not doing it.
I'm looking at them, they're
I could
a
never.
$100. I was like,
The
oh, all
the
right, what
Wendy's
$30
one,
for the hat? I was
the
like,
Wendy's ones,
yeah, the Wendy's one, hundred
$100.
bucks, $100, $100 for the sweatpants. They're white with like the heat is real on the Wendy's
That
logo.
is
$100.
fantastic. Like, God bless them. I wish I was that smart.
It's like, dang. All
Dang is
right,
right. $100,
if you got,
wide leg sweatpants that say Lonely
I'll get
Ghost.
mine from Costco. That's
I
fine.
will continue to get my Kirkland. Well, they sell Calvin Klein, which, I'm a
Yeah.
gal. I'm a modern gal from the 90s, so I still wear CKB. Like I
Ooh,
bathe in that junk, man.
classics.
I love it. I love it. I don't even care. I smell just like I stepped out of the 90s. Okay. So
No.
here's something relevant to Gen X and millennials. In June, the FDA forced a recall of mushroom chocolates and gummies produced by a company called Diamond Shrooms. Products
Love the
including
name.
Diamond Shrooms infused cones, chocolate bars, gummies, contain muscimol, a chemical found in mushrooms of the genus Amanita, which is has a potential to cause
Manita.
symptoms like seizures, agitation. I mean, you
Oh.
get agitated, I guess. Involuntary muscle contractions, loss of consciousness, confusion, sleepiness, nausea, vomiting, abnormal heart rates, hypertension slash hypotension.
Hmm.
So I guess if you were expecting, to get a little buzz off that, you wouldn't know the difference because you're in this health crisis at the same time. So it's not funny. It's just ironic. Okay. So on July 23rd, the FDA updated its notice to add that 74 illnesses had been reported so far in 28 states, including 38 hospitalizations and 2 deaths. The Centers for Disease
Aw.
Control also sent out its own notice, adding that products containing psychoactive compounds such as cannabis or mushroom extracts are increasingly available. Increasing in availability. These edibles are often sold as gummies, candies, chocolates, or other snack foods. They might contain undisclosed ingredients, including illicit substances, other
Hmm.
adulterants, or potentially harmful contaminants that are not. So that's why I want to talk about this, because I feel like this is a thing that is relevant to like Gen X and millennials, trying to get that medicinal mushroom or whatever in their chocolate. So be careful out there, peeps. Kind of maybe vet out what you got, and don't just kind of willy nilly eat a chocolate mushroom because your cousin or best friend Joshi brings it over. Be careful with the type. Vet them
Fresh
out.
truffles.
Vet them out. Do your research. And don't just. I mean, Mary, listen. Don't just get on Google's and be like, oh yes, really look into maybe peer reviewed journals and things like that. Maybe look into prescriptions and all that jazz. But watch out. So if you have stuff from chocolates from Diamond Shrooms, maybe check it and see if it's been recalled before you have a really terrible Friday night. And that
I love the name. I love the name. It's one of those things like these kind of products fall in that same line of like vitamins and stuff. Like they're just not as
they're
regulated as
not
we think they
regulated at
are.
all. They're not regulated at
Yeah,
all.
they're not right like vitamins. They're not regulated, and you're like, oh, these are good for
Yeah,
me, and it's like, are they? What's in them? Like it's because it's in the health food doesn't mean it's good for you.
correct. So
You gotta do a little work. You gotta do a little
be
work.
careful out there, guys. We're all trying to get be more relaxed. So try meditation, try try a little yoga, maybe some headspace
Ooh,
therapy.
therapy dog.
But definitely be careful with the edibles out there because they're just flying around. They're flying around that right now, and you don't know what's in them, and they're not regulated by the FDA. So that's don't be a cautionary tale. So that is our
Breaking news.
breaking news on the food front. So, oh, we forgot to do our favorite tool. Let's do our favorite tool
Ooh,
real quick. Okay, so I brought this is
favorite
show and tell.
tool.
I brought my favorite tool is the handheld strainer. This is a fine mesh strainer, and I'm holding one
Ooh,
up if you're listening in your ears. A fine mesh strainer with a handle on it. I can do everything. I can do a lot of stuff. I can sift with this. I can sift ingredients with this if I'm baking. I can strain my pasta. I can strain out sauces and things like that. Like for when I make bone broth and everything, I use this. This guy has been. I've had this probably for 15 years. It's amazing. So that is my tool of the day, the fine mesh strainer. What do you got, Joshy?
a fine
That's
mesh
right.
stranger. I love this. I brought my favorite spatula.
Oh, that is a sexy
My
spatula.
It's my
Describe it
favorite. It is
slowly.
a solid piece of stainless steel that is seamless and has a gorgeous grip for all of your lifting and decorating
Mm.
needs.
And who makes it?
It's also my retirement present from the dear wife here.
Oh, that's right. I got it for you.
Right. This is my retirement from when we were teaching together. You're
Yes.
like, bye. So it got me this fabulous lunch. But it's one of my favorites. I love it because there's no, like I said, there's no seams, there's
Mm-hmm.
no grooves. So it's great for cleaning, especially as a pastry chef, because we're always like buttercreams and icings, and they get into every little
Yeah.
nook and cranny in there with a little brush. You're scrubbing things. So, but I use this for decorating, leveling, sometimes cutting, squaring things off, like lifting things. Like a spatula is a very
Yeah.
handy
So that
tool.
is a straight
So I'm on
spatula
that.
from Global. It is a Global.
Global,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those they
It's
make sexy
a
knives. They make
the
sexy. It
Cadillac of
really is. It's a
spatulas.
very very handsome uh tool to have in your
Oh,
knife roll. So you're welcome.
thank you. I take it everywhere I
Yeah.
go.
Awesome. Well, I love you, buddy. Thanks again.
Love you
And
too.
join us every Wednesday. Well, maybe not Josh, but join me every Wednesday
Do you want to talk about food?
on Nikki
I'll
Talks
be
Food.
listening.
All right, guys.
Let's talk
Bye
about
bye.
food. What else are we gonna do? We got nothing else to do. Let's go.